Welcome to Conversation with Buddy. I'm your host, Buddy Puckett. Here we are, another week doing what we do. We really appreciate you being here. If you do me a favor, if you're on YouTube, would you hit that subscribe button? It definitely helps get the messages out. It grows our channel. And also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this podcast with somebody, maybe even share it with 10 people, especially if there's one that you love. Today, we're gonna dive in. I have a returning guest, and we're gonna dive in. It's going to be pretty emotional, I can almost bet. But there's a verse that I'm going to read real quick. This is in Matthew 11, verses 28. I'll get here in just a sec. Here's how the verse goes. This is what Jesus said, by the way. He said, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." I guess what that's saying is you were never designed to take on the burden yourself, that Jesus said he would take on your burden. So come to him. And so today, as I introduce my guest, we're going to be doing that as well. So let me introduce my guest, Rob Saffeels. Welcome, Rob.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, man?
It has been quite a journey since the last 6 months when we talked.
Yeah. 6 months ago, man. Can you believe it's already 6 months?
It's a vapor.
Yeah. You and I usually connect a fair amount. I haven't heard from you for a little while, so it usually makes me a little concerned. Where's Rob? Or it could be any guy. Anytime I meet with guys and we just kind of go different ways, it's okay. We'll usually keep in touch, but anyway, I want to get caught up with you, bro, and just see where you're at and what's going on in your life, and maybe pick up where we left off last time. What's been going on the last 6 months?
Sure. Well, last we talked, just had launched officially a business, the local news network, and I'd received a check from a sponsor, if you will, an investor, who wanted to remain anonymous. They just really cared about the mission, and the mission really is to be able to just do something different than what's ever been seen here in this region before, which is kind of this dream that I've been building on throughout several different careers in the last few years. I just kept on seeing this hole, and the hole wasn't something that one person could fill. And I think that everybody struggles, small businesses, politics, you name it, there's an issue right now. I think that economically and sociologically, our world right now is just struggling. Yeah. We're very contentious. We're very prone to argument. We like seeing the hyper violent. We like seeing the distress, because then we have something to complain about. We have something that we can just eat on. And I think that we consume it so quickly that we're just on to the next one. Well, that was cool, but what else can I see that's just terrible, that really doesn't help my soul in any way?
I was thinking, are we kind of wired as people as our default is negative? Would you say that's fairly true?
Oh man. You look throughout time, and human race has just never had it easy. We had 3 good days. Adam had 3 good days, and then we ate the apple, and then it was just distress from there on. Yeah. I think that when we try to be more than what we really are, we can really see that coming to fruition. I think that more often than not, we try to put on this face, this facade, this mask of everything is perfect, everything is just fine. Yeah. When really, dude, it's death, it's sin, it's darkness every day, and there's just this light at the end of the tunnel that we're just gleaming on, hoping that we can find that light. And I think that more often than not, if you're not a believer, you just got no hope. You got nothing to live for, and you just try to fill your time and your mind with things that really just don't matter at all.
Wow, that's a mouthful right there. Gee, Rob.
Yeah. Welcome to Conversations with Buddy.
That's right. Hey, let's keep it real though. I think you're 100% right. Death and darkness is what I wrote down. And this world is death and darkness. Now, Jesus is the light. He's the light of the world. Yeah. And you can't hide the light on the mountaintop. But you have to seek him to find the light, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's something that I've had throughout my life is kind of a struggle. I mean, even as a kid, I knew that I'm saved, I'm going to heaven, I'm going to church, I'm going to Christian school.
Yeah.
I got memorized hundreds of Bible verses for Awanas and different church events. And then the next day, I just choose myself again. You know, and I think Paul talks about this a lot, is that I know what is right and wrong, and I choose to do wrong, and that's just my nature. And I think that's where, like, specifically David, in several times throughout Psalms, he finds himself just pleading with God. And one of these examples, my wife actually used to be one of my staff when I was working at Canview Camp. I was mentoring 28 teens for a program called Teens in Ministry. And the goal was to be able to guide them towards a better life, give them opportunities where they could learn, and just provide hope for a life of, you know, betterment. That one of the verses, I had everybody write down a favorite Bible verse and then a prayer request. And her Bible verse that she wrote down was...
okay, this is Psalm, which one?
So this is Psalm 143:8. And it says, "Cause me to hear your loving kindness in the morning, for in you do I trust. Cause me to know the way in which I should walk, for I lift up my soul to you." And there's a prayer request there that I'm not going to share, but it's about her family, and it's really personal, and something that I've carried for years.
Because this was probably what? How many years ago was this?
This was 10 years ago.
Okay.
So this was before God, you know, brought us together.
Yeah.
I had just gone through a set of circumstances that were really difficult, feeling like I just wasn't adequate. And on this note card, it says, you know, ways to be encouraged is encouragement notes are great, and verse references are great also. You know, and I look back at the last 10 years, and we've been together for 7.
Have you really?
Yeah.
You guys been married for 7 years?
Well, married for 5 years.
Okay.
We started dating right after she turned 18.
Got it.
You know, and there was a lot of cause of issues within that, you know, within her family and people looking on from the outside. You know, it just didn't make sense. And I think that, like, my priorities at the time were I need to sustain my own life. I need to figure out funds to get me to not live at my parents' house.
Yeah.
I got to take care of this girl whose
right.
family, you know, obviously has some issues with me being older gentleman coming into her life.
Yeah.
And I was not a stand-up dude. I had a lot of things that I was still working through.
Yeah.
I think that we all have our issues in life that we have to kind of just get through. And I had still been in the midst of them. And when we got married, there's still things that we hadn't talked about, decades old, you know. And when I proposed, I'd taken her down to the beach and made this huge romantic gesture.
Yeah.
And made signs on huge billboards of wood, run them down in flip-flops down this huge rock wall. And she thought I was in the bathroom the whole time, because I'd walk towards the bathroom, and then when she went into the bathroom, sprinted, took all this stuff down there and ran back up. And then she's sitting in the car, and I come back to the window. I'm like, hey, I'm done. And I'm like sweating like profusely. And she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. Out of breath.
Yeah. I'm fine.
But even that day, like, I knew that things weren't fixed, things weren't solved, and like we had a lot of growth left to do.
Yeah.
And we've been married now for 5 years, and this last year we underwent some major surgery, you know, just going through some very difficult conversations, changing of jobs. And I think that, you know, something that somebody asked me even last night, like, are you the head of your household? And if not, like, who is?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Hard question, maybe, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm at the point where some of the friends that I have right now are deeper than ones that I've had for decades.
okay.
And those conversations that I have with these people, we just get straight to vulnerable. And I've never done that in my life. I mean, I had roommates and I had best friends, and I didn't tell them anything, like nothing. My wife, I didn't share with her things for 4 years.
Yeah.
Things that I wanted to take to my grave. And like the opportunity to just be real with people has changed my perspective on what it really means to, to follow what scripture talks about is, just, you said it yourself, lay the heavy burden down. This is not yours to carry.
Right.
And I've been carrying it a lot. And I know that my wife now carries a burden because of our relationship, because of me. And that's tough. I got kids that I'm trying to father, and I got a wife that needs me.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to chime in here. Okay, so you guys been married for 5 years. You have 2 kids. Ages are?
Yeah, I got an 8-month-old named Lila, and I got a 3-year-old named Charlie.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are busy.
We're in the thick of it.
You are in the thick of it. So,
yeah.
You're definitely in a season, and you've never been here before, Rob. This is new, right?
I think that's kind of something that is the hard part. I think that when you have one kid, you're used to one kid. You can hold them with one arm. You can run around. You can do those things. When you got 2 kids, you still treat it like it's one kid. Picking up both at the same time is so much harder than one. For sure. And I think it's the same that I'm kind of dealing with in personal life as well as professional life, is that starting a new business, man, the hardest thing I've ever tried to accomplish is just building trust with a community that doesn't really know me.
Yeah.
Same with that, trying to do that with my family and, encourage them to grow in the same ways that I'm trying to grow myself. And it's hard to have the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
And I think that we find ourselves, like I said earlier, in this darkness or being overwhelmed and distressed and finding just like no relief. You can go to people, you can ask for help, and sometimes it just isn't there. Like sometimes God is just saying, just sit and wait. And that's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I think on the
the be still and know that I'm God, Psalm 46:10, he is saying, be still, wait on me. But that's also an active wait. We're pursuing something. So for you, Rob, I mean, the challenge is, I'm curious who's mentoring you. I mean, you said you got some new people in your life. You have people come to you and they can speak truth to you. How are you responding to that? Is it working? Does your wife see you're growing? I mean, these are all questions my wife would probably want to know about me. So I'm thinking, yeah, does your wife see the growth also in you?
I think at this point, you're at that sweet spot in life where it's so easy to point out the flaws in another person that you look at every single day.
I would say wrong. I've got so many flaws. Is it sweet? Yeah, I don't have kids at home anymore. We're empty nesters. But the flesh, dude, it's still...
It doesn't change.
It doesn't change. So you might remember way back when Pastor Ron was alive preaching, he said the same thing. When you're younger, you have all these issues and you're married, you're newly married, you have little kids and you have all these problems. And you think, oh, when you get older, man, when I hit 60, all my problems go away. It's just a lie.
Yeah.
It's just different problems. But the flesh still exists. So you and I will keep meeting and keep talking. Iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another man. There's no age category there, right?
That's very true.
So don't... Man, there's no judgment here. Don't feel that way at all. Because hopefully I didn't come across as judgmental. I'm just saying, me too. Yeah. I have to show up every day, every week also, because I need it.
And I think that's where I think my struggle is right now is like just being consistent in everything and not just one thing. And I think that it's really easy for me, like, well, I did the garbage and the laundry and I did this and I took care of the kids. And they're like, yeah, but what about this, and this that you didn't do for like the last week? You know, what about taking your family to church? And what about, you know, taking care of these things and this thing? And it's like, I think that one of my struggles is just prioritizing what's most important instead of what I think is most important.
You know, when you were talking about this stuff, my only question is, what are your priorities, Rob? You know, trust me, I'm going to tell you my priorities, and I'm going to tell you how I don't always hit them. So my priorities are God. It used to be my wife, but now I actually changed it to my health because I realized I was actually putting my wife before my health, and then I wasn't exercising. So I asked my wife, hey, can I make health my second priority so I'm working out and being in good shape? And so, but ultimately it's God, health, wife, kids, ministry, work. Oftentimes though, work takes the first priority because we do have to make money. So that's hard because if you have a 1,000 tasks to do, you said you're trying to be consistent at everything. Guess what? You can't.
Right.
And that might be the failures. Like, yeah, I get it, but so figure out what the priorities are. If God's number one, what does that look like? Well, you read your Bible, you praying, going to church, and I'm not trying to be legalistic about it.
Right. No. And I think we both grew up in homes that really cared about, you never miss a Sunday. You always are sitting together, praying for meals and enjoying fellowship with other people in church. And we've gotten to this weird intersection of what is most important, you know? And I think that oftentimes we put our kids first above our relationship with each other. We put our kids first in front of God. We put our kids first in front of everything. And when we don't put the kids first, then it's like everything breaks because that should have been the priority. Why wasn't that the most important thing right now? And well, it's because it shouldn't be number one right now anyway. Like we've made it number one. But really like, yeah. And that's where it's like anytime I sacrifice for the kids by going to work or doing other things, now my priorities are messed up. And so it's like I need to seek prayer and wisdom and forgiveness for the things that I've done in the past, the present, and then move forward and stop living in that.
Okay, question. Do you feel like Rob lives in the past of, even though you may have asked God for forgiveness in areas, are you still carrying those burdens like, but I did that? And is that where you're living? Is that what you're saying?
I think that part of it is the refreshers. So it's not like I had a really, so, okay.
It's getting real.
Yeah. In 2023, I was working at Oregon State Hospital.
Yeah.
And something I brought up in the first time that we met for a podcast was that I watched someone almost die.
Okay.
And I didn't really bring it up. It's just really hard to talk about because it's probably one of the most stressful interactions, but it was only 4 minutes. But those 4 minutes like linger.
Yeah.
And there was a patient / client who was in a manic state, chased after a staff member, caught him, started choking him out. And it was for sure going to be murder, like right there in front of everybody. And I sprinted after him, caught him, called some staff over. We got this guy off. But the damage had been done mentally and physically to this staff member.
Wow.
He had bruised his larynx. He had been punched several times in the face. He had a orbital fracture. Guy for sure almost died.
Was this guy a friend of yours? I mean, did you know him well?
We just barely acquaintances.
Okay.
We were both in a specific role that as float staff, we would be able to work on any unit.
Yeah.
So with that, we were kind of treated as misfits.
Yeah.
And there was about 100 of us. There's 2,200 staff. 1,600 of them worked in offices.
Yeah.
600 of them worked on the floor.
Wow.
And those 600 people trusted each other very, very highly.
Yeah.
Because you put your life on the line every single day you come to work. The Oregon State Hospital actually has a higher level of incidents than fire and police combined. Just in this one building of all the other combined. Like, that's an insane thing to think about. But there's not every day that a police have a shootout. There's not every day that a fire is getting injured because they're really good at their job. You can be the absolute best at your job, being able to help people through crisis and mental health. And at any given moment, someone could have been preparing a weapon for you. They could be preparing any type of disaster for you. Or out of nowhere, they just have a fight or flight moment and they choose to attack. And it's one of those instances where this guy meant nothing to me personally. We were acquaintances, but in that moment, like, I had to do everything that I could to save a life. And I wonder, how often did I do that for my wife? How often do I do that for my kids? How often?
Yeah. Okay, so are you questioning your compassion or your ability or your character?
I don't know, but I think that I feel like other people do that for me.
Oh, they're judging you.
Yeah.
They're judging you.
So I think that, like, one, it happens for sure.
Sure.
To my face. Two, maybe it happens behind my back. Don't really care about that as much. That's life.
Yeah.
Three, like, if I hear it from my wife or my family members that I'm doing something that I can do better, I take that so heavy.
Yeah. Take it personally, don't you? Yeah. Does it hurt your feelings, or do you feel like you can take it as a constructive criticism to, okay, I hear you. I can step up my game here. Cool.
Yeah, I for sure do it both ways.
Yeah.
I think it hurts my feelings because for a long time, my parents were like, you are the best at what you do. You are the best son. Everything you do is fine.
Yeah.
We're going to fix this. We're going to work through this. I would say that, it's been characterized as enablement from other scenarios. But at the same time, it's like, no, it's the most loving that a parent could be is like, in any moment, sure, you've messed up.
Yeah.
Sure, you've done something wrong. But let's move forward. Let's just not live in this moment forever. Let's not judge all of your good and all of your bad because of this one episode, because of this one instance. And that's where I think that we have to just figure that, yes, we can be rebuked. Yes, we can be judged. But what do you take from that criticism, and how do you move forward? Do you just live in that forever, or do you actually take heed to the wisdom that people have in your life and then do something about it? And I think that that's where it's like, I have seen the most growth, but also the most struggle. Yeah. I definitely take criticism really hard. I hate when people tell me I'm not good enough. Yeah. Like, that is my biggest struggle, is when someone says, you are not good enough at what you're doing. You're not the best at your job. You're not fit for this role. You can't play at this level. Yeah. Or you're not representing our family in a way that, is what I need. You know, you're not good enough, and all those things are true at times. And it's like, how do you ever be good enough? And I think that God has shown us so many times that we will never be good enough. I mean, there is no way that we will ever get to a point where we are at that point of perfection. But at the same time, like, we can be so much better, and we can do more with the time that we have, and not just squander it thinking about the past, thinking about how I can be better. Just start doing it. And someone told me recently, like, you do a lot of trying. Uh-oh. You do a lot of trying.
I'll try.
Why not just do it? And I think Yoda obviously summed that up the best. But when I'm, like, ready to move forward and start working on things, I do it. At the same time, there's all these hindrances of the past of, well, this is, something I've hold on to for so long. Like, maybe this is going to hold me back. And maybe I can't be as good as I want to be because I haven't been doing it as long as these other people. And Kobe Bryant talked about how when he first started for the Lakers, like he was working out twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone said, what if you work out one more time? So he started waking up at 6. And he's like, what if we wake up earlier than that and do another workout? So he used to get up at 4 o'clock now and 6 o'clock. And he's doing his regular workout at 10 and then again at 2. And then he was doing one in the evening. And you compile that and you compound that skill and experience and time. And within 2 years, you are now light years and fathoms of skill above and beyond anyone else that you're competing against, because no one else is putting in that level of work. And it's just this mindset of grind. But is that really what God is calling us to?
I mean, dude, I just read the verse, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. So stop doing. But then the world says to rise and grind. And I love Kobe Bryant. I mean, he's one of the people I think about, even though he's passed away. I watch him play, and he was very relaxed on the court until it was go time. And he'd go, he'd get up at 4 a.m. and get his practice in, and 6 a.m. and 8, he did that amazing. The rise and grind mentality is what the world says to do. The conflict is God isn't saying to do that. He's more about relationship. Yeah. Here we are, we're trying to go out and do all these things, become better or something. I would say pride comes into place here because I don't like to be confronted when I've done something wrong. Trust me, if my wife says, hey, that was not cool or that was bad, I don't like that. But that's my pride. But in humility, if I go, you know what? You're right. I acknowledge you. I accept what you're saying. And here's my plan. I'm not going to try. I'm going to go do. And we talk about language in our family. We have 2 daughters, and when my daughter said, hey, I'm going to try to do this, like, why on earth would you try? Stop trying and go do. And so it'd be like if you got married to Melissa and you went to your wedding day and the pastor says, hey, Rob, do you? And you go, I'll try. No, you say, I do. Right? And so that's the language that we're talking about. Is trying is meaning I'm not going to. I know when I hear people say that. And so when I say it, my wife or daughter calls me out. Hey, I'll try to do that. You're just lying to yourself, buddy. So, yeah, I agree. I think our words matter.
It's definitely
good point.
True. Yeah.
But here's the deal. Pride is the foundation of all sin. And so when we get defensive, when people call us out, that's my pride. Humility says, hey, Rob, I'm really sorry I did that. Let's work on a plan where I can get better at whatever, or my wife or whatever. That's the true answer, is like, I do want to improve. I mean, we all want to improve. I've not arrived. Have you arrived?
No, and I don't think I ever will. But, we're going to do as best as we can, and we have to not do it as trying. We have to actually take the feedback that people give to us and know that, this is important. This is something that is for the betterment of not just ourselves, but the community and the people that we interact with, especially our families, because they see us when other people don't see us. I think that that's something that I've learned that is a struggle for my wife, is that in the last few years, coming out of really tough workplace environments, going in more to a public-facing role, people see me differently than she sees me. And I think that that's where she's like, I want to see you the way that other people see you. Like, I want to show up and want to be proud of how you're doing these things, but it's just like, when you come home, you're a different person. Like, when you interact with our kids, you're a different person. And I don't want to be 2 people. I want to be one person, and I think that it comes from a place of foolishness and just fear of not being fake when I show up in public, but also being real when I'm at home. And so being real in 2 places at once is really easy. You just don't be fake. But at the same time, that means you really need to be on your game. You need to be waking up and doing what you need to every single day, and not just feeling like you can float through life. And I feel like I've done a lot of that for a long time. And there's a lot of times where I'm not doing that. And so those are the moments where I'm like, see, I can do this. And I think that's where I get kind of caught up. And
question.
Yeah.
So Have you ever tried to live someone else's life and be miserable? It's just a question. It's rhetorical. I've found myself trying to be somebody I'm not. Like maybe somebody in the mortgage business is better than me, or a better golfer, or better this. And I find myself miserable trying to be somebody I'm not. When I just finally figure out who it is that I am, that God's called me to be, you probably look at your own gifting as like, oh, it's just who I am. But you have gifting that no one else has. I have gifting that no one else has. But sometimes I see what other people's gifts, and I want that. It's like I don't want what I have. So that contentment. Are you content in who Rob is? By the way, God made you. You should be very content in who you are. You're exactly how He made you. Because when you act like He made you, you have joy, you have peace, you have love. When you're not acting in who He made you, then that's where we show up as fake people. We all do it, by the way. No one's alive that's not been fake. But here's the deal. When you're authentically you, then you don't have to try, you just are.
I think a song came to mind last night, and it's a really simple song that everybody sang as kids if you went to camp, and it was, God's still working on me to make me what I ought to be. And it's not what I want to be, it's what I ought to be, and I think that the mirror of the word, the reflection that we see, it's really every single thing that we see in the Bible and in the scriptures. It's this example of a person who has lived a similar life that you can just be like, yep, been there. Yep, I can see that. Wow, that sucks. Oh my gosh. But at the same time, it's like, now what? What do you do with this information? How do you take a story from thousands of years ago, and how do you apply it to your life in a way that is transformational for not just you, but the people that you interact with? And that's something that I see happening in David in Psalm 40. I was talking with my older brother, Tim, and I joke with him that all growing up, like I hated that I was really good at memorizing things, but that I couldn't just pick the perfect example out of scripture. So Awana's, the Gettysburg Address, the preamble to the Constitution. I was up on stage saying all these things, just memorized, just had it all. And I wanted to be the leads in the play because I could do the songs and I could do the skits. And I loved being up on stage and just sharing these things that I could have memorized so easily. And Tim was really good at it too. But what Tim was able to do differently was that he could take somebody's words, talking out of their mouth, and then just go, there's a scripture about that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, Tim, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't thinking of that. And the other day I was thinking through this patience, this waiting. And of course my mind goes to movies and to TV shows and things that I've watched and seen. I'm a cinephile for sure. And like, I watch a film not just for the action. It's for the story. And one of this stupid episodes of SpongeBob came up to mind, and they're sitting in the woods after getting lost, and all three of them, you got Squidward and SpongeBob and Patrick, and I'm telling the story to him, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, Psalm 40 is what you're talking about.
Oh.
Just interrupts me, and Psalm 40,
Tim, well done, brother.
And I'm like, but let me finish. And he's like, no, okay. I waited patiently for the Lord, and He inclined to me. The word inclined, He actually leaned out of His natural sitting position to reach out towards me. That's profound verbiage and word vision that David has here. And being able to describe this and saying that He brought him up out of this horrible pit, out of the miry clay, that He put his feet on the rock, that He gave him a song to sing. You skip down a couple verses, and he says, verse 11, do not withhold your tender mercies from me. Your loving kindness and your truth continually preserve me. For innumerable evils have surrounded me. My iniquities have overtaken me, so that I am not able to even look up. There are more than the hairs on my head. Therefore, my heart fails. And God comes back and says, I know the hairs on your head. I have counted those. I know the struggles. He says he's right there with us. And to be able to rejoice and be glad in it, even in the midst of the struggle.
Yeah. Your brother, man, Tim, he's a good man. I love Tim. Love Rick too. Tim, what it feels like, because you want to tell a story about SpongeBob. Yes, I've watched SpongeBob, but I wouldn't know the characters like you do. So it would have a lasting meaning. But the Word of God, it goes out and never comes back void. It's living and active and sharper than a double-edged sword. The shelf life, eternity. Is that what you got from Tim? Is that why Tim's like, hey, there's a verse for that? Is that why he did that?
Yeah, I think that's why he always did that. You know, anytime I brought up something that was silly or nonsensical, like he always brings it back to what is it that we really need to focus on? Like why is that important to you? Why is that's now what you remember? Why is that your example today? Yeah. When it could be this. Yeah. When it could be like a 16-year-old out killing lions and bears, called to be king, and then has to wait for 15 years. 15 years before he sits on that throne as king of Israel. Like, that is crazy talk. I mean, you look at a president, he gets elected in November, and January he sits on his chair.
His throne, yeah.
You know, and that was 3 months of waiting. And in that, it's parties, it's celebrating.
Yeah.
And David is fearing for his life in caves. David is out fighting wars, killing Philistines in God's name for a king that literally wants him dead.
Yeah.
And I just look at that and I'm just like, I have nothing to complain about. I have nothing in comparison, but I don't want to always play that comparison game. I just want to take for face value the fact that if I'm suffering or struggling or without a paycheck or, you know, not making ends meet, we got manna. You know, where's Moses at? 40 years in the desert is where he's at, looking at that promised land that God has said Israel's going to be here. And he never got to go in. Why? Because of disobedience.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of disobedience goes a long ways. And that's where it's like, we have an opportunity here every single time to take something that someone gives as criticism or that God shows in the word and to be merciful and just be like, this is for your betterment.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Like, it's still your choice. No one forced Moses to break open the rock with a stick.
Right.
No one forced Pharaoh to let the people go, but he made it clear that this was what was going to happen regardless if you're on the throne or not. Yeah. Regardless if you're in power, these things are going to come to pass. So that's where I see like this mix of, I have all this knowledge of the Bible and scripture, and I'm like, am I living it out? Am I actually just doing what I know? I have spent years studying, and I can have an answer for anything. And sometimes that's not for my betterment. Sometimes it's a wasted breath to just say words, you know, and I think that that's where I hate some of those types of personality traits that I have is, like you said, kind of prideful within me, is that, you know, someone asks me a question and sure, I can go to Google or I could tell you what I remember from 12 years ago from a Bible class that I half slept through and still got an A in. Doesn't matter now, but like back then, it didn't affect me in a way that I felt like was going to impact my life in the future. I know I'm kind of like all over the place today.
Well, it's our conversation. It doesn't matter, right? That's what we do. That's how we think. Yeah, this is hard, man. Here's a question for you. I mean, I like asking questions. Do we pack God around in our little Bible and we pull him out when we want to, or do we actually live our life for God because he loves us? And you know, I would say all of us have this problem. Sometimes we look at ourselves as, woe is me, I'm the victim, poor me, wah, wah, wah. Me too. You too. We all do it. But here's the deal. God provided manna every day. He didn't promise it for tomorrow, but just today. Just today. Have you ever missed a meal?
Yeah, but usually by choice. It wasn't by force.
Yeah, to clarify, God has provided for you. And so I think the test is faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. But if we're focused on woe is me, I'm having a bad day, a bad week, we all go through it. Psalm 23, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff. When we're in the valley, God is with you. He isn't up on the mountaintop waiting for you to come back up to the top and, oh, hey, there you are, Rob. He's with you. Do you believe that? That's the question is, here's the deal. God is going to take you through whatever he wants. Remember last time we met on the last podcast, if you haven't listened to the last one, you should. You were reading out of Isaiah 6. Isaiah saying, here I am, Lord, send me. You said those words.
I know.
And yet, what about me? No, God's already got you covered. He'll take care of you. Just go forward with faith and love your wife, love your kids, have your priorities right. This is, by the way, for me, this is for everybody listening. But you're going to go through a season. It's just part of the deal.
Yeah. And I was up at Corbin where I graduated last month, and I was talking with someone. And they're like, yeah, I'm leaving. I've been working here for 2 years and knew it wasn't going to be forever. And as I'm driving away, my wife's like, why are you at Corbin? And I was like, well, I'm not getting a job, but I'm hoping that, I can work with them somehow. Trust me, like I would not go and work there. And then I stopped typing for a second. And I was like, unless this is a Jonah and Nineveh thing. and I look at that story and I'm just like, he literally ran from what God was asking him to do and not telling him what to do. He's just asking. Say, hey, I need you to go do this. You have a choice, and let him have that choice. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it's like every story that you look at throughout the Bible. I mean, you look at Noah, he waited. He was told, here's your vision. You're going to see a boat. I'm going to help you build it. You're going to make it. And it never had even rained before. Never even rained before. Like to even process a boat to save him and his family and two of every animal, to be able to carry on life and sustainability on earth when it had never even rained.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where this kind of thought process for this job came from, trying to build something for people that I know that I've struggled with. Like I stopped caring about everything. Literally everything. I didn't know who our mayor was. I didn't care about voting. I hadn't voted in 12 years. And I just got so tired of seeing everything in the news just being negative all the time. And feeling that internally as well is that like, I just don't care anymore. I don't care about anything. I'm just going to show up to work. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to go home. And if it sucks, it sucks. If it's great, it's great. That's just the way life is right now. And I felt like listening to other people have the same mindset and just, hey, I'm doing the best I can on social media, but then in real life, like everything is miserable. And I just wanted to give people rain for a desert, to just, the ground is so dry right now, not just in Salem, not just in Monmouth and Independence and Kaiser and Staten and Sublimity and all these little towns around us. We're just dry as a people. We have gotten to the point where it's so hard to reach out to a neighbor and just help unless we expect something in return, like gratitude or a notification on Facebook saying you did something good today. Look at how many people liked what you did. And I just feel like when we're so dry and it does rain, it can't even land on good soil. It's just going straight through the cracks and it's gone. So you get that blessing, you get that really good thing happening, and you're just so dry and caked because you haven't had good watering for a long time. I don't know if your grass is like this, but last summer my grass was like this. The ground actually caked so hard that when we watered it, it was just going through the cracks. Nothing was growing. And I felt that in my life and with my jobs and with everything. I mean, in 2023, I had a gallbladder surgery. And I think I've shared a little bit of this with you, but maybe not. For 4 years, it was misdiagnosed. I told my wife, this is physical, this is not mental. The doctors were telling me it was mental. They thought I was having onset anxiety attacks. They were giving me antipsychotics, the same medication that I was giving to patients and clients at the hospital for when they would have these panic attacks. And I'm sitting there day after day after day after day, not knowing what's wrong with me. And finally, at the end of 2022, I go to the hospital. I'm in dire need. I'm in pain. I am struggling for breath. My drive out there, I'm like, I might die on the way out here. I went up to Sanium Hospital, and my dad was driving me. It was 10 o'clock at night. We arrive. They put me in almost immediately. Salem Hospital, no offense, takes probably 5 hours, sitting in that waiting room if you're not going to if you're not like stabbed, dying, car accident, or pregnant. I didn't think any of those were going to be qualifying cases for me to get seen right away. But going to Sanium Hospital, I told them, I'm feeling chest pain. I don't know what it is. I need it to be seen right now. And it was within 2 minutes I was in. Threw up right away. They'd given me some morphine to try to bring the pain down. And they're like, that didn't work. You ever tried ketamine? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Let's try it. Little did I know that ketamine is typically laced with LSDs for a super high. Yeah. Like it's a party drug. They call it Super K. And ketamine gives you the craziest highs and lows. It only goes one of two ways. Absolute high, where you're like meeting God, everything's shiny, you're out in the frolic of woods. Or they call it K-hell, where you're literally envisioning death, you're like melting, you're drained of any light, it's complete darkness. And that's what I experienced, was the absolute worst experience of my life. I was literally swearing at the staff, and my dad was standing there, and I'm cussing at everybody, and I feel like I'm dying. I can't breathe. I'm like, I am literally dying. And it lasted probably 5 or 6 minutes. But
this was in 2023?
Oh, yeah.
I never heard the story.
It felt like 45 minutes. Literally, I was looking out at the walls, and I'm just laying there. In real life, I'm just laying there. But I am thrashing for life. I thought I was actually dying. And I'm looking at this clock just melt down the wall, and these dark things coming at me and things jumping on me. And it was just unbelievable experience that I don't even know how to really share with people. And this is why I don't talk about it very often.
Yeah. Keep going, man. This is good.
And I get off that table and I look at my dad, and he's like, "You're okay."
This is a gallbladder.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The gallbladder at this point, I had 1,000 gallstones. My organ was completely dead. My other organs had learned how to create bile so I could continue pooping.
Yeah.
But they had grafted roots in every other organ, and this dead thing inside of me was killing everything else.
Wow. This is interesting.
The doctor had done 30,000 procedures. She said, I've never seen someone as healthy and as young as you with an organ this bad. You look like a 70 or 80-year-old. It's the size of 2 fists.
Oh, no kidding.
It's supposed to be the size of a quarter. 2 full fists inside of my chest, weighing me down, latching onto everything else, killing me from within. It's a powerful analogy.
Yeah, yeah. Brother, thanks for sharing that, man. That's that is powerful.
Well, it doesn't stop there.
Well, we're gonna wrap up, unfortunately. I know there's more to that story, but wow. We might have to have a third one just to continue the story of the gallbladder, because that's an interesting story.
Well, I'll tell you this real fast, is that the next day I end up with a blood clot in the leg. they do an MRI again on my chest. I had 11 blood clots in my lungs, pulmonary embolism. The doctor again said, you should be dead. For months after that, I could feel my organs shifting to fill this hole. And that's kind of what I feel like is happening in my life with finding meaning and purpose in this job that I'm working on. It's really a struggle monetarily. My staff are getting paid, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not able to provide for my family, but I know that God is still able to provide for the things that I really need. And he's blessed me with people that care about me. Somebody came to my house the other day and just dropped off money. Didn't even say who it was. It was just an envelope. I have no idea who did it. And it's that manna, it's that little bit that God has given me to just sustain life for one more day. And I can't always look to the 25-year plan. I can't always rely on other people to take care of me. Like, eventually you just have to do something else, or you got to figure out a way to provide. And I know that this business means a lot to me right now, but I have to do what God is calling me to do. And whatever it is, I said, I'm going to go do it. So I got to go do it. And so I don't know what the next few months looks like. It's been a great journey to be able to find the purpose and meaning in doing this. But at the same time, like, nothing lasts forever. I really want this to continue on, but I have to take care of what's most important right now, and that's my wife and my kids.
Yeah. Whew, brother, this was heavy, man. And we're going to wrap up right now. Hey, I just want to say thank you for listening this week. This is a heavy one, and they're not always this heavy, but we all go through stuff. And if you're going through stuff, reach out. I'd love to talk with you. It could be off camera just to hear your story, and if you ever want to share it, you can be on the camera. But Rob, appreciate you being here this week. This is our second time, and let's not wait so long to grab coffee next time.
Amen to that.
Okay, see you, brother. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.